Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to be talking about information asymmetry, and this comes from the book Freakonomics. And in Freakonomics they talk a lot about different types of economic situations. They correlate things that apparently have no correlation, and they basically teach you or show you how there's like cause and effect in that, right? It's a pretty interesting book. But anyway, the information asymmetry comes when there are two people communicating, negotiating, typically in a buyer-seller situation. This is more for economy, but it could be for any type of situation. And when the buyer and the seller are negotiating and communicating, there's an imbalance in information asymmetry, right? Symmetry means that it's all the same. Asymmetry, it means that there's lack of symmetry, right? So there's an imbalance, and normally what happens is that one of the two sides has better or more information than the other side, right? So they will benefit. It's basically like, you know, the idea of insider trading, where you have information that benefits you, you know. And it's kind of like this idea then, what about, you know, having the upper hand, or having advantage over somebody or over something? How can you really then talk about advantage if, you know, it's going to be considered asymmetrical if you're not communicating everything, right? Now, I know, of course, that we would be talking more in terms of just basically divulging or letting everybody know everything that's going on, like laying it all out on the table. And then the way in which you communicate may be an advantage, right? Or, you know, the advantage might come at a later point, such as like the talent or the way in which you use the resources, the ideas, the creativity you have. So it's not so much in withholding information, because I can see how that's related to lying and being dishonest and deceiving people, right? Withholding information. So let's go with some concrete examples. The book Freakonomics talks about like real estate agents, and when they try to sell, you know, like basically and I hadn't thought about this, but the real estate agent has two functions. The first function is to be on good terms with the seller, right? So you know, telling the seller like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you a good deal for your house, I'm gonna sell your house quickly, you know. And then like the second function, excuse me, is with the potential buyers, right? So the agent has to go out and basically get a good deal for the buyers, right? And tell the buyers, oh yeah, I can get you this house at a lower price. It's a very good house. It's going to benefit you, right? So that's interesting how this agent basically has to play for two sides, right? They're considered like a mediator, and they're the experts in selling houses, yet they are also an individual and a party, right? And this is what the book talks about, that sometimes studies have shown that when agents sell their houses, for example, they leave their house on the market for an average of 10 more days than they do their the people that they're selling the houses for, right? So this means that they are able to work more so they can get a better deal for themselves, but not for other people, right? Not for the client or the seller. So again, this is information asymmetry, or yeah, asymmetry, because they have information, specific information on the market, data, facts, experience, right? Where they know if they keep it like 10 days or just a little bit longer, maybe they'll get a little bit more for it. And, you know, the book explains, since they're working by commission, whenever, for example, you know, if they say, oh yeah, I'm able to get a better deal for your house if I just wait 10 more days, do a little bit more of work, where sometimes they say it's not a little, it's actually more work. They're only going to get like a small portion of that in commission, like $100 more or something like that, from like the $6,000-7,000 that the book says that they already get for selling the house. So they say 10 more days of work for that much, nah, pass. And they just sell it, you know, for less, for example. So it's interesting how they're playing these two sides. Now, I asked ChatGPT about this, and it said that there are, and actually Wikipedia gives these examples as well, where information asymmetry basically happens in cases like buying insurance. And you can think of like the experts. I mean, just think of like doctors. They mention doctors, dentists, funeral homes, where they know that people are grieving, and they try to like get you to buy the most expensive mahogany or something like that wood coffin. Like expensive coffins where, and then it also goes into the idea of the internet and how you can compare prices now online. So it's harder for these information hoarders to actually function, because people now are aware of the real prices of things and things like that. So insurance, for example, actually it has the opposite effect, because it's not the experts that are fooling you. It can actually be the buyer, right? So let's say you hire insurance, but you withhold information about your health or your health risks, right? Like if you know that in your family you have a certain condition genetically, or you're prone to develop some type of disease in the future, but you withhold that information so the insurance company doesn't charge you more money, right? So again, that's information asymmetry, and it could be biased towards the seller or the buyer, right? Because it's very common to imagine these experts like the real estate agents, or they say like when people sell their cars or their houses for that matter. But imagine a person selling their car. They know more about their car than they're willing to let other people know, right? They're not going to talk about the bad things that the car has, right? They'll just kind of let you figure that out once you have it, right? And again, that's information asymmetry, because you're not being completely honest with the information. Uh, you're not shining light on everything, right? You're withholding information, and withholding causes that imbalance, right? We're not going to get into whether it's immoral or good or bad, or whether it's lying or not. It simply causes an imbalance because you're not putting everything out there, so you're not able to truly weigh the pros and the cons, and really have all the information laid out for you. So I was kind of thinking, like, where else does this happen? And the book gets into some interesting things, like saying you're not gonna, for example, talk about yourself, which I thought would be like an interesting experiment to do with people, or even for yourself. Like, how would you describe yourself on a first date, right, with a person you like, versus how would you describe yourself at a job interview for a job you really like, right? You're obviously going to highlight, or you're going to basically like let the people know that you have these certain qualities, right? But obviously you're not. Imagine talking like you would at a job interview, but on your first date, or vice versa, right? That would just be kind of weird. But again, it's referring back to that withholding information, right? You're not gonna let, and I think some people may do this consciously, but I think for most of the time we just do it unconsciously. Um, we don't really think about the bad things, especially when we're trying to give a good impression, right? Let's think about maybe friendships, relationships, social dynamics, colleagues. If you work with clients, also how you present yourself to a client, the way that you're trying to sell yourself. You're also going to be, I guess, in a certain way, like doing this information asymmetry, right? Where you're going to be withholding information that maybe is purely irrelevant for the situation, but maybe sometimes information that is relevant but is not beneficial for you to mention or to say, right? So I thought that was like an interesting idea. I just wanted to talk about it. What do you think about information asymmetry? I guess this is more for economy, and when you're dealing with like transactions such as like financial transactions. Like think about investing, right? If like you buy, you don't buy, but you pay an accountant or a broker, to do the job for you, they're obviously going to know things that they're not going to tell you, right? Or let's say you go to therapy with a psychologist or a psychiatrist, right? And you're trying to get like as much information on the first visit. They're not going to tell you everything, because then if they just lay it out all for you, and they're like, oh yeah, you can go down this path, this road. It was kind of like when I was getting braces for my teeth, and like the dentist, basically I feel like they mess around a lot with the time that you need to get your teeth fixed or straightened out. They tell you, yeah, it's gonna be like 3-4 years, and they go at it like really slow. And then I was convinced that that's not true. I was convinced that it could be done faster, but you had to pay for it, right? So I went with this guy, and I asked him like, how much is it gonna cost for you to fix my braces? This was back in like 2017, and he was just like, this much. And I was like, okay, fair. And then like I just paid him, and within a year, like I had my braces, I had my teeth fixed and corrected. So that's the type of thing I'm referring to. Like you can tell someone, or you can ask someone like, how much is this going to cost me? And they can withhold a lot of information and just basically give you the, play around with you, and say, yeah, it's going to take a long time, or it's going to take so much work and so many resources, when it's really not. But they just do that so they can get more money off you, because you don't know. Again, information asymmetry. It's, they say knowledge is power, information is power, and this is basically what it comes down to. That's why I think if you're planning to like buy a house or buy a car or something like that, it's hard work, because you really need to do all of that investigating. You can't just hire someone and expect for them, like the real estate agent, to really be looking after your best interest, because they're not going to be looking after your best interest. You're just one of 1,000 clients that they've had over the years. Or even if you're buying a house, right, they're just one out of like 10,000 potential buyers that they've had over the years. So you're not special to them, right? Even if you're a friend, I would say it's not that. It's the fact that, again, everyone's looking after themselves. There's an idea out there that that's how that's actually what makes an economy grow, because this idea of capitalism basically works on the foundation of personal interest and personal greed. So when you want more, when you're looking out for your self-interest, you're actually putting that back out there into the community. You're creating jobs, right? Like think of a CEO or a businessman who wants more power for him or herself, but that generates jobs, that generates employment, that generates more for other people. So in a way, being selfish is a good thing for the collective, right? And that's what the capitalist structure has done, which according to this other book is a very revolutionary idea, which comes from, if I'm not mistaken, John Smith or Adam Smith, something like that. But yeah, I guess we feed off people's selfishness and greed. So yeah, again, information asymmetry is a phenomenon that is pretty interesting. Where else do you see it? Let me know in the comments. And that's all I got for this video. So I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.